Hey, good morning, everybody. Friday, July 26th. Okay, you were looking at the SPOOS, the S&P 500 Futures Chart, or ES, in front of you. It's kind of a condensed 3 minute. The Anyway, that's basically what I was using overnight. Just there's a quick glance of like where we've been and where we're at. Let's get it let's get a little broader out. So we've seen the trickle down from the highs. We are down a good three. Came up about 300 points from the highs, 57.20, down to 54.46, and we cracked through this threshold yesterday. This that 55.08 area, and it was essentially a complete. Well, actually, we cracked through there on the previous day, but it was a downfall there. And we opened up in a neutral zone and proceeded to trade down to the 54.40 area. And I was actively looking for spots, reasons to get long. And I finally just it dawned on me, it's like, wow, NVIDIA's coming off, but NVIDIA, just the weight it has now with, you know, potentially leading the text, regardless what direction. So then I quickly pulled up a chart and I saw that little gap close down there, like 106.40 or 106.50. And I was just zeroed in on that. And I had the Qs up and I had my SPOOs up. I had everything up. And, it was as simple as I saw the gap. I saw the reaction off that NVIDIA gap close. And I was like, oh. And I was on a 30-second chart. I said, this thing's going to move. This thing wants to go back up. So that I went and bought some Qs, and I went and threw in a market order in the SPOOs, and basically, so I was long Nvidia calls and Nvidia equity and Qs as well as the SPOOs, and it was just a monster move, as we all witnessed. I mean, it was really quite the day. I was very fortunate that I had trimmed out of a substantial part of my positions. I didn't have a lot on going into the day. I don't. I think maybe just a gut going into Thursday, Friday. I was concerned about Thursday that the theta kicks in if you've got the wrong product, and as well as going into the Friday. So I had reduced positions, so I didn't have to really worry. I had like a couple of the few positions I did have did go against me. So I started off the day. I was red. So decent red, and then off of just like seeing the Nvidia and everything, and then just, I just launched. I don't know. It just felt like it was just old school pit trading, just you know, seeing it, feeling it, and just going for it. And it, proceeded to be correct. I did take a couple of quick scales to protect my downside, and then I backed off and I just let it run because you could just see the momentum and the other techs that were also being recruited for the upside move. So that was the day, and we came in and we traded all the way up to this 55.31 area, which I think a lot of people had this 55. A lot of people had this 55.07, 55.08. I even know Danny Riley, Top Step. He was taking bets, 10-1 odds that that 55.07 would print, and I was laughing at the time. I saw it pre-market. I mean, he was stating it pre-market. I was just laughing. I was like, okay, I don't necessarily know the basis of this, but I know he's got some kind of crazy Wyckoff traders with him that have all these, I don't know, different. It's just completely different programming. I don't understand, but he was calling that out, so I thought it was hilarious. So once we started to make the move, that's when I saw the 55.07 from the previous day, 55.08 from Wednesday. I certainly saw that as a target, but I didn't know, because we'd sold off so much, how he was thinking that was going to happen. So anyway, that was an outlier thing he had going on, had nothing to do with my trade, our trade, because a bunch of us saw similar things and we all got long. So it ended up being a terrific day. So, all right, so fine. So we traded off it up into this 55, 29.30 area. I don't think I was looking more at the Nasdaq and not necessarily this at that point, because at that point I was still long queues, um, and that was kind of a sign to me that I needed to. It was kind of a key level that I thought was like, wow, you at least got to take some off, because this thing is, we just had this massive rally and we're going to pull back. You got to take some off. And I took half of them. Well, I took more than half because I'd already scaled quite a few. um, and then let's see here, where that level is. There you go. This is the area I had right here. It was the 19,200, 19,211. It was based off of just this area here, and that was before we started to break down midday on Wednesday, and close out down at 1900. That was the target I had. So it was simply off of this level, not the SPOOs. And all I did was I just bailed out of all my cues. I didn't get short there. I didn't get short there. And I saw a chance to just kind of trading the NASDAQ down to this 18,970 area, and the correlating level in the SPOOs. I forget what price I got long, but actually I bought more cues. And they ended up being good for like a fast 50 as 60%. So that was a real quick trade, and then it came off. And then we proceeded to go down. Um, all right, fine. That was yesterday. So what are we doing now? I saw an opportunity for with that sell off last night, overnight. I saw how we kind of popped up into this area right in here early evening, and I was like, wow, with this like sell off, I just don't. I would find it hard to believe that unless there was some big, disaster somewhere, that we would actually break these lows. The 54, 35, 37 area that we were the lows from yesterday. I just found it hard to believe that we would go further down. So I did develop a long bias just based on that. So I was looking for an area to get long last night, and I saw this area right in here, and I saw somebody else got long. I think 42 or something. I think Bait or somebody got long, and I got long the 48s. I was chilling at home. I rarely these days have any overnight trade at all. Well, they proceeded to work. I mean, before I even went to bed, I was able to kind of scale out into this area here, the 62 area. So I scaled 3/4 there, and I basically left a quarter on. And my target was based off of SPX levels, and it kind of came up with like the SPOO level of 5480, and then there was this area right in here, and I left a few runners in there for 90, and I proceeded to get filled. So rare overnight trade that worked handsomely well. So we're now back to a level where we're practically going to be 3940 40 on that 5400. We're going to open up at SPX about 5440. That's what we're going to open up. So if we open up, so you can see right in here, yesterday this was kind of the midpoint on the way up with the rally, and it was the midpoint on the way down, 5440 to 5450. So we're going to be open up in here. That's definitely a gap up, but because we're opening here, I'm not gonna. What I'm gonna be looking for is do techs and everything. Do they have enough strength to kind of migrate above this 53, 54 area to maybe a retracement into the 5490, 5500 level of the SPX? I think there's a strong chance of that being kind of a Friday, and we've had a lot of movement, and maybe people want to add maybe kind of throw a little more equity into their long-term account. So that's possible. Or equally as possible that we would retrace the lows, and I don't know if the consumer sentiment number comes out, no clue. But that could give us a reason to kind of drop back into below the lows from yesterday into the 53.75, 76 level area, which was a key level uh, on a previous date. So there are two possibilities of just kind of trading down below our gap open. But I would a gap. It's a gap up. There's probably gonna be a little continuation, but it could be a head fake into here. So watch for a few sellers, or in fact, there could be a retracement and more buyers come in. We could get a nice little move to the upside that could be worth 30 to 40 points. So keep your eyes open for that, and make sure you're always looking at the NDX and referencing, seeing where bonds are. But as you know, NDX is pretty much my beacon these days, and it's been working quite well. With that, I will hand it over to Dan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Let me get my screen up. All right. So I'm not going to go over yesterday and earlier in the week
Let's get a
too
little more
much, but I
volume down.
will. What's that?
A little more volume.
So yesterday we obviously had a pretty good retracement. Then, sort of in the last hour of the day, really, um, we had a pretty good sell off, and then um, now we've sort of formed this. And I'll go to 30 because it's actually easier to see here. It's not exactly the cleanest, but we're starting to form this head and shoulders here. You need to, for this to be invalidated, it would need to get over this level here. I'm going to adjust that a little bit. So that would be to 91.90. I'm short from 90. And I will continue to be so on runners unless I stop out over this 91, because if this head and shoulders plays out, we're going right back down here. So that's the reason I'm going to hold a runner here. I've gotten my scale at 4 and 8 points. I've taken my profits off the table. Now I have a stop at like 90. I think I have it 93 or 94, which would invalidate sort of my thinking here that this is a head and shoulders. So that said, we have Friday. It's been a pretty bearish week. Sometimes Fridays we can get an unwind. Could we do sort of something like this, where if we do get this head and shoulders breakdown and even come down and break this 33, say we get that, I could see a massive afternoon Friday squeeze as everything gets monetized and decays into the weekend. So I think today could be a good day. But that said, I'm also going to protect capital and protect gains from what has been a absolutely phenomenal week. So I think that you got to weigh out your um, risk reward here, where we're coming into a Friday, which Friday has a lot more mechanisms in place that can throw you off than earlier in the week, and we've had a great week. That then you have the other idea that with big moves usually begets other big moves, until finally the sort of we end up oftentimes back where we started the whole thing. So it's an interesting day with a couple of interesting setups. That 90 short, I'm already in it. Let's see what happens. There's some room here, certainly down to 63, 64. Man, if we break that, we're going right back to lows. And then if we get down here, I don't think we hold it this time. I think yesterday morning felt very panicky to me, which is not something we've felt in over a year. So I think we need to remember that feeling yesterday morning. You don't get those panicky feelings if everything's okay and hunky dory and we're just going to V-shape recovery and oh, that was fun, it's all over. It's not really how the market works. Market got sort of spooked by something, and maybe it just spooked by being so overbought for the last I don't know, let's go to 4 hour. Forever? Since let's even go to daily. Maybe it just got spooked that we've gone parabolic since October of 2023. Are we still on this trend line? Yeah, we're treading it. We really are treading it. And let's go to SPX to see it. This is the one I drew on SPX the other day. We broke it barely here. I mean, and I always give some slippage on these trend lines because they often do slip, but we're close to a pretty good breakdown. Now, where could we go if we do break down? And let's sort of start there a little bit here. There would be one, 53.43. That would be really the next major support level if we were to break under this level at where we closed yesterday? 90, 53.90, or whatever the low was here. Yeah, 53.90. So, I mean, that's another 47 points. Then under there, we get into a lot more support. We have down here, and then we retest that low from May. So if we sort of break this trend line, that should be a real and break, retest, hold below. That should be a real heads up to you that this could be a regime change, and we need to stop thinking about buying the dip immediately and sort of realize that it's going to be a lot trappier to the downside than maybe we thought. Yesterday was a great long because we were so incredibly oversold. Now, sort of eyebrows raised, and what are you going to do, Mr. Market? And we need to be able to adapt to that. Something I don't know if they had news today or something, but I mean AMD is just absolutely getting shellacked. And this thing is, I mean, it could go here. Yeah, under that, I mean, you don't have a whole lot down there. That's a pretty nasty looking chart there. That chart is completely broken now. Do you want to buy that? I don't. So sort of stop and think before adding longs just yet, because we've really broken on a lot of things. Nvidia, I mean that's not terrible, or that's NDX, excuse me, and it pretty much looks the same, but that Nvidia there, I mean that's not a good looking chart either. Do I want to buy a long term there? I mean, you've got your trend is broken. These are tactical trades taking yesterday, not marry me trades, and Microsoft, that's broken. Palo Alto never filled the gap, broken. I know I'm sort of making the point that one's not as broken, but Amazon, that looks like it's setting up for a head and shoulders on daily. So be very cautious. Don't be quick to like buy swings for next week on the long side. I don't know if we're done here on the downside. My gut is we're not. Turn it over.
Good morning. All right. Just quickly on indexes. I do have this structure kind of up for a retrace. I've got my Fibonacci's up here, but it's definitely going to be a day just to kind of see how things are setting up. Like David said, Capital Preservation Friday. We're kind of stuck in this sort of box here. We're hoping, if we come and get a retest of these lows, would be a decent spot to look for. A reaction there. Obviously, if we lose this, then if we flip back over to this chart here, let me go to the hourly. I do have this monthly pivot that's been set here. We have been testing this all week, so we did slip down below it a little bit, and we have a weekly support just below. But we have this gap fill set here too, which is kind of where these wicks came down to. This was, I think, from that contract roll. But that seems to be the area that's been holding for now. So we'll see if we come back down and retest that area, see if we end up getting below. But for now, that's kind of the floor. And if we can bump over this 93, 94 area that Dan mentioned, that's kind of where I'd be interested in engaging some upside into these levels. And I would flip back over to this chart here and look at my Fibonacci levels, which would be, well, you're going to have your psych level at 5500. There's a 5507, 5531, and a 5554. Not that I necessarily anticipate getting all of these here, but this 31 would be a decent spot to target on a long, which is where we rejected yesterday, which I believe was coincided with a NDX level. That would be, this 19 to 17 right in here. So that's what I'm looking for on the indexes. We'll see what sets up on a smaller time frame, and see if there's any entries. But again, I'd be looking to engage in something down here. Again, if we get over this 92, 93, 94 area, potentially there's a long opportunity there, and then just watch out for this 30, 33 area here from yesterday. On the individual, end phase continues to grind up. We've got a 123.97 is the next area to scale out some profits here on this long. Again, this is a bearish pattern, so once this completes, you'll be looking for a short opportunity out of it, but pretty decent development so far. Tesla, I shared this yesterday, kind of a completed M harmonic, got an okay reaction. If we can get over these 226 level here, maybe a little bit of a 0 DTE squeeze on it, up to this 231.33. Beyond that, it can get fun. And if you go to the daily, it's actually over that level, gets into this gap. So I'll be watching that today. I have a little bit of a position in that, just lottos. But if we can get into this gap, that may be a fun one to play today. If we get some upside. Coin is also interesting. This is a bit of a harmonic setup here too. And it's gapping up off of it here this morning. So watch Bitcoin, but there may be an opportunity in coin today. I would say there's potentially even a swing opportunity, but I'm just not comfortable unless you get a decent scale and holding anything over the weekend with the way the market is right now. And they have earnings next week too, so those premiums are going to be spicy. I think their earnings are next Wednesday, maybe. I heard it is next Thursday. Uber, shared this yesterday. I took a trade around this level here yesterday with a tight stop over this Fibonacci, and we came over it and I stopped out. We're right around where I stopped out, but we did pop up to this trend line and then rejected it, so still watching this for a potential breakdown. This is a nice looking short opportunity. Maybe I'll revisit that. And that's pretty much everything I'm looking at today. Not in a rush to do a ton. See how things shake out and see what the sentiment is coming in at. We have that at 10 a.m., I think. Let me look on the calendar here.
Yes.
Yeah. Consumer sentiment 10 a.m. So if you're going to be in any trade, just keep that in mind, that the price action is going to be funky when that comes out. So I think I got caught in it last time. But anyway, we'll be in the room. Trade safe, and we'll be around.
Good luck, everybody. We'll see opportunities. Be patient.